Up until this past July, I had never owned a Jewish star necklace. With the rise of anti-Semitism all around us these days, I've heard people talking about whether it's safe to wear their Jewish jewelry at school or work. In fact, I stood outside with two moms of our Helfman Religious School students last spring and listened as they talked about wanting to wear their Jewish stars, to stand proud as Jews in their places of work, even if that sometimes felt hard or scary. Why didn't I own one? I have to go back in time a little bit to my family history. All of my grandparents and even two of my great-grandparents were born in this country, and there was always great pride in being American. We joyfully celebrated Jewish holidays together as a family, but in some unspoken way, there existed a sense of too Jewish or not Jewish enough in my family that is hard to put into words. When I was considering applying to cantorial school, I struggled with not feeling Jewish enough. I didn't keep kosher. I didn't celebrate Shabbat. We didn't own any Jewish art in my house growing up. But what did Jewish enough really mean? Despite these insecurities, I came to realize that the role of cantor was so perfect for me. I loved working with people and singing. I had always felt connected to my temple and my cantor. I loved teaching. There were so many aspects of the job that fit me. So I applied to the cantorial school at the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion, and I got in. 19 years ago, in 2005, I went to Israel for the first time. It was my first year of cantorial school, and I moved to Jerusalem to live there for the year. Overall, it was a great year. I met my future husband. There we are. I was immersed in the fascinating history and culture of the place. I made new friends. I studied Hebrew. I started learning the art of being a cantor. However, all year long, I never fully felt like I belonged there. Some people talk about arriving in Israel and kissing the ground and feeling a sense of home. I didn't feel that. Israel was never something we talked about in my family when I was growing up. I learned about it in religious school, of course, but I never felt any personal connection. During that year of studying in Israel, I continued to feel like I didn't quite belong. Here I was, a woman studying to become a reform cantor. In Israel, this was a strange thing. I remember being drilled by the El Al agents before flying to Israel. Maybe you've experienced that. They asked me what I was going to do there. And when I told them, they looked at my jeans and said, "You, a cantor?" I learned that in Israel, there were religious people who were varying levels of Orthodox, and there were secular people. And if you asked the secular people what religious looked like, it only looked like Orthodox. So if I was already questioning if I was Jewish enough to be a cantor in Israel, I definitely wasn't feeling it. However, over that first year of cantorial school, I started a journey of learning more about myself, what kind of Jew I was, and what kind of Jew I wanted to be in the world. Fast forward 18 years from leaving Israel to this summer when I finally went back. I helped staff the Shirley Barish Memorial Israel Experience along with fellow Emanuel educators, one of whom is back there, Stephanie, in which 22 amazing teens were participating, some of whom are here tonight. I was with the group for a week in Jerusalem, and then I headed up to Tel Aviv, where I met up with 55 cantors to take part in the American Conference of Cantors mission to Israel for 10 days, traveling around the country with them. I started the trip feeling something very different than the last time I went. I had been a cantor for 14 years. With the heaviness of everything going on in and around Israel since October 7th, it felt important that I was going as a leader of the Houston Jewish community, as a leader of the American Jewish community. We were there to do hard work. With the teens on the Emanuel Trip, we visited Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Remembrance Center. I sang El Malei Rachamim, the memorial prayer by the trees of the righteous Gentiles, and I felt the weight of those words like I never had before. We heard the story of Holocaust survivor Eliza, who was just a child when she survived the horrors of that time. We visited the Knesset, Israel's parliament, and saw the photos of the hostages displayed in the gallery of the main meeting room. During our cantorial conference, an important part of our trip was bearing witness to what happened on October 7th. We heard from Jackie and Yaron Vital as they told the heartbreaking story of their daughter Adi, who was killed in Kibbutz Be'eri. Her husband survived because he was on a hike with friends that morning. He's now taking care of their 2 young sons. It is hard to describe the sadness and pain we felt sharing the room with Jackie and Yaron as they introduced us to their beloved Adi through stories and videos. When they finished, we all took a heavy breath. We asked if we could sing a Mishaberach for them. She said that would be so nice, and so we gathered in a circle with our arms around each other and sang. In Hostage Square in Tel Aviv, we gathered for Havdalah with families of the hostages to sing, to keep hope alive, to show our support. Wandering around Hostage Square, there are many pieces of art honoring the hostages and those lost in this conflict. There is a tunnel meant to show what the tunnels in Gaza are like. As you walk through, they have speakers playing the sounds you would hear of the war going on above, people walking, water dripping, and along the walls are photographs of the hostages, written names and messages. Here was one message I found as we came out from the tunnel: hope is mandatory. We witnessed the devastation at Kibbutz Kfar Aza, the burned and destroyed homes, the giant photos of those community members still being held hostage. Our tour guide told the story of her 80-year-old mother hiding in her safe room alone for 30 hours, saved by a rocket that hit her home and left rubble blocking the door of the room she was in. She could hear the Hamas militants in her home planning their next moves. On her shelf in the room they were in was a small sign that said, Le'ehov et kulam, love everyone. We were there to do hard work, and we were there to learn about the complexities and the nuances of Israel and what is happening there right now. I have found it challenging to live in the U.S. and to know what to think about what is happening in Israel. Some of the people we learned from while we were there helped me process my thoughts, helped to give me a deeper understanding of the current situation. Here in America, there is a divide, pro-Palestinian or pro-Israeli, and nothing in between. It was enlightening to learn that just because someone is Palestinian does not mean they are against Israel. Maybe this sounds simplistic to say, but it felt really important for me to take that in. Mohammed Darawshe, a leading political analyst who is Arab and expert on Jewish-Arab relations inside Israel, shared that 17% of Israel's citizens are Arab and often identify not as Arab Israelis, but in fact have multiple identities: Arab, Palestinian, Israeli, Muslim, Christian. We often have a need to put people in a box or judge them by a label, but people are more complicated than that. I was fascinated to learn that only 3% of Arab citizens of Israel supported Hamas's actions on October 7th. 85% opposed their actions. 70% of Arab citizens felt that after October 7th, they felt an increased sense of their Israeliness. Ma'oz Enon, a Jewish peace activist, gave us a tour around Nazareth. Nazareth is a primarily Arab city in Israel, once known for being dangerous and a place to avoid. In 2005, Ma'oz set up a guest house and helped renew tourism in Nazareth. Even though he is Jewish, he got to know the Palestinian Israeli citizens living in Nazareth and demonstrated that knowing each other and seeing each other as human beings could actually create a peaceful society. Respect existence or expect resistance. And yet, Maoz carries a heavy sadness. Both his parents were killed on October 7th. Despite this trauma, he continues to do this work, promoting a shared society. We learned from Yaron Shavit of the Jewish Agency and Orly Erez Likovsky of the Israel Religious Action Center that the number of Reform congregations in Israel has doubled over the last 10 years, and there are now 54 Reform congregations across the country. They want to make it possible for Israelis to have multiple ways to express their Judaism. They are fighting for state support of Reform congregations instead of only Orthodox congregations. We actually had the chance to witness the life of these Reform congregations. On the Friday night I was with the Emanuel Trip, we went to a beautiful outdoor Shabbat service at Achva Bakerem, a small community in the suburbs of Jerusalem. And as part of our Cantor's mission, we visited Or Chadash in Haifa, led in soulful prayer by Rabbi Gabi Dagan. On our visit to the Gaza envelope, we visited the site of the Nova Music Festival with photos of all those who were killed mounted on posts covering the grounds. In the distance, you could hear the bombs hitting Gaza. Two of our cantorial colleagues led a memorial service on the grounds. We stood together, our voices lifted in prayer, our hearts heavy. And as we sang, we noticed a group of young IDF soldiers who came over to listen. I wanted to share one of the soldiers' words.
Pretty great. And we came here today to see what happened to our brothers and sisters. Most of us lost friends, lost family on this day. And for us to see your support, we just came here like by the way, and we saw you, and all of us came very emotional for your beautiful ceremony. And we want to thank you as Jews before we are Israelis, because for us, we always look at you like you live in a safe haven. But now we understand there is no safe haven for us, nowhere on earth. So we are for you, and who knows what the future is going to bring to you guys, but you need to stay strong abroad for yourself and for us, and we are together in the same boat.
In this week's Torah portion, we read the words of the Shama. When I learned the Shema in sign language from Rabbi Darby Lee, I was always moved by his translation of the words, particularly Yisrael, both the place, Israel, and the Jewish people, like all of us together. And also the word echad, or one, which he translated like this, that we all, through our different ways of connecting with God, come together as one. We are each unique in the ways we are Jews in the world, and that is what makes our Jewish community so rich and so strong. Whether or not we feel a connection to the Jews living in Israel and other parts of the world, we are connected. While in Jerusalem, I bought a Jewish star necklace, which I'm wearing now. I felt a sense of connection to being a Jew and to the land of Israel like I never had before. I'm proud to be a Jew, and I'm not afraid to show that. The Nigon that we sang at the beginning of the service is the one that I taught the teens on the Emanuel Trip. Each night we gathered for a closing circle, and we would sing it together. On the last night I was with the group, we gathered together in a circle for Havdalah. We had been staying all week at Kibbutz Ramat Rachel, outside of Jerusalem. We sang our Nigun that we had been singing together all week, but this time I taught them the words that go with it from Psalm 137. If I forget thee, Jerusalem, let my right hand wither. Im נשכחך ירושלים תשכח ימיני. As we finished singing, a man approached us. He had been sitting on the lawn near our circle. He said, "My family and I have been evacuated from the north. We heard your singing, and I just had to tell you how much it means that you are here." Shama means listen or pay attention. How are you listening or paying attention to what is happening in Israel? How are you listening or paying attention to all the facets of the people you encounter? And how do you, as a member of the Jewish community, contribute to the echad that binds us all together? Shabbat Shalom.